What's up, Fleek family? Today we're going to be going over how you start vintage reselling without getting scammed, how you do it safely, and how you can actually grow your store so you can make some money. My name's George. I have sold over £100,000 worth of vintage clothes. It's taken me a long time, and I've made pretty much every single mistake you can make, and I've also been at every single stage. I've bought individual pieces from Vinted, I've bought bundles from Fleek, and I've even sold as a wholesaler myself, so I know the full industry inside and out. Today we're going to go over every single thing. So if you're a beginner or you just want to learn how vintage reselling works, stick around, and I'm going to show you where you buy from, what you should be buying, and what you should be selling it for. The first thing you need to think about when you want to start vintage reselling is what actually are you going to sell? There are a lot of vintage brands, and in fact, I'm just going to pop a fraction of them on the screen right now. There is a lot. I think picking your niche is really important, and you need to actually understand what each niche contains, why you're picking whatever brand you're picking, and if it is a brand. The first thing you need to do before you pick any sort of brand, any sort of what you want to sell, is you need to think of the season. The truth is, buyers aren't stupid, and they kind of only buy what they want to buy. In winter, no one buys jorts. And because of that, the price of them is really cheap. However, items like Carhartt jackets become really popular and the price skyrockets in them because people want to buy a nice winter jacket. You kind of need to be thinking about this subconsciously when you're buying. Try to buy in the right season. So if going into summer, when it's spring, buy your summer stock. And in September and you're going into autumn, that's when you want to buy your winter stock. There's a few things like delivery that we'll get into, but I just want to plant that thought in your head, because it is very important. Brands. There is a bunch of brands that exist in this vintage reselling space. The most popular, in my opinion, being Ralph Lauren, Carhartt, Nike. You can't really go wrong selling any of these sort of brands. The reason I really love Carhartt and Ralph Lauren is because they have something called high perceived brand value. If you walk into a Ralph Lauren store and you want to buy something like a quarter zip, or what do I have here? A jumper like this. This is a crew neck jumper from Ralph Lauren. If you want to buy something like this new from the store, it's going to cost you around £180 to £200 plus. However, I can pick this up on Fleek, an authentic used piece for like £10 a piece. But to the average buyer, they're still thinking £200. So will they pay £50 for something like this? Yes, that's a good deal, right? It's used, but you know, it's a quarter of the price. It's brilliant. Things like that generally are really good because they sell fast because people think they're worth a lot. I find it's kind of harder to do that with things like Nike because although it's always going to sell well, people know the brand Nike, they know it's going to be high quality, things like that. It doesn't have the same like hype around it. So if you are going to start and you need a brand to pick, I really do recommend stuff like Ralph Lauren and Carhartt, but there are loads of vintage brands out there. You should try all of them. Things like Lacoste and Tommy Hilfiger also do really well. They've got the same kind of thing as Ralph Lauren where they're perceived to be a higher value. Not everything does need to be branded when you're picking a niche. One of my friends sells hats, so I grabbed a bunch of them, and Realtree is super popular. I'll pop up what Realtree is on the screen, and it's basically just this like camo kind of print. He bought these hats on Fleek for like £4 a piece, and look, like these are going to sell pretty well. I think he's going to sell these at £15 to £20 a piece because they're just cool unbranded hats. The only thing is Realtree, and stuff like this is really good. So if you are on a lower budget, really cool hats, really easy to sell. Hopping on trends like this is good because this is kind of, it doesn't matter if this is winter, summer, things like this. Unbranded pieces can be really good. So just to show you guys, you can make money, not necessarily with brands, and this is still a niche. The more you buy, the cheaper the item is going to be. Hopefully that's pretty self-explanatory, but you know, if you go to a seller and say, I want 100 pieces, you're going to get it cheaper than if you want 10. So again, if you're a beginner, you're going to make slightly less profit. That's kind of expected. It's a wholesale industry. So let's actually just jump into some values quickly of like what you should be buying and selling at before we go any further. This is a Ralph Lauren knitted jumper. You want to buy this from anywhere between £8 to £15 and sell it between £25 to £45 per piece. This is a Ralph Lauren t-shirt. You should be buying these between £3 to £5 per piece and selling these from £10 to £25 per piece. Now, the most valuable kind of Ralph Lauren jumpers are the USA flag knits. I'll have a photo on screen. These are worth about £150 per piece, and you can buy these sometimes if you're very lucky for £50 per piece. And if you want to get really geeky, the V-necks and crew necks, the V-necks are worth slightly more. The cable knit versions, you can sell these for around £35 to £50 per piece. Cable knit Ralph Lauren jumpers are the fastest sellers, but they're a little bit hard to find at the moment. So if you do see them, don't sleep. You want to jump on those. Okay, so I've mentioned that if you're buying a lot of pieces, you can get a discount, but how does sourcing actually work and how do you go about it? Where do you do it? I have mentioned that if you do buy a lot of stock, you can get a discount, but where should you actually buy your stock? Obviously, you want to buy it on Fleek, and this is basically a place where we connect you with a bunch of other wholesalers across the globe. If you didn't know, most vintage clothes are actually based in South Asia, in countries like India and Pakistan, because that is where all of the grading and sorting gets done for vintage clothes like this. So most of the sellers on the Fleek app are from there. However, if you want faster shipping, for example, there are also suppliers from the UK, from the US, from France, all over Europe. It is a truly global marketplace. So wherever you are in the world, you can get fast shipping, or if you don't mind from buying from far overseas, a little bit of wait time time, you can also buy from there. Fleek also has a bunch of other great things such as buyer protection, authenticity guarantee, and returns. And you pretty much won't find this anywhere else in the industry. Another question I often get asked is what is grading and how does grading work? Because grading is kind of confusing. You might have heard terms be thrown around like grade A, grade B, grade C. But what do these terms actually mean and what should you expect if you're buying these sort of bundles? So on Fleek, we always say that most bundles you'll see will be grade A and grade B. And what that means is 70% will be grade A and 30% will grade B. And grade A are basically perfectly brand new clothes. Let me see if I can find a piece actually. So all these hats will be grade A because as you can see, there are absolutely no defects. These are practically brand new. I mean, they are used, but to be honest with you, there's absolutely no signs of wear. So this is the jumper I was showing earlier, and this is a perfect grade A example. As you can see, the tag's in brilliant condition. The overall knit's in brilliant condition. There's no stains, no defects. If this thing had a tag on, it could probably be sold as brand new, so it's perfect. Whereas a grade B piece might have a stain, a small rip. It will just have a minor bit of wear and tear. So they will typically sell for a bit less than grade A. You won't be able to get the full maximum resale price. However, grade B is quite interesting because the pieces are often cheaper. Therefore, you can usually make better margins with grade B bundles. So do bear that in mind when shopping. Grade A is generally the easiest to sell, but you will often make more money or more margin on grade B pieces. Now, because we are ordering from overseas, one thing you do need to be careful of is import and shipping and taxes and things like that. That is all covered within the Fleek app. Fleek take care of everything. It's all included in your final sales price. So you've bought a bunch of these items from Fleek. Now, where should you actually be selling them? Because there's a load of marketplaces out there. And to be honest with you, when I started, I had no idea where the best place would be to sell any of my items. So right now there's two places where you can kind of sell items, and one of them are marketplace apps and one of them is live stream selling apps. The marketplace apps are the classic stuff. Think Vinted, Depop, eBay. They're the biggest ones. They're the best ones right now. Vinted is definitely the best app to sell on. I think you will get some really good money on Vinted as long as you take nice photos, things like that. If you just want to list items, take a photo and put it for sale, that's where you should sell. If you've got a bit more of a personality and you don't mind getting in front of camera and selling things, you ought to consider Tilt and Whatnot. These are basically live stream selling apps. So like I'm on a video right now, you sell your item in an auction style. So you can go, hey guys, you should bid and buy this thing. It's a little bit more interactive, but it's really good for volume. So if you're gonna buy 100, 1,000 pieces, you can sell them very fast. Instead of waiting 2 weeks to maybe sell an item on Vinted or Depop, you sell it literally on a live stream. So you can easily sell 100 items in an hour or in 2 hours, really. If you do wanna scale, that is one of the best ways. But if you're a beginner, I totally understand. Vinted, Depop, eBay, brilliant, solid options. I would focus on Vinted if you want the most value. But just so you know, they're all your options. So while we're here, I'm actually just gonna finish unboxing my little bundle here and show you all the different types of products and like what the unboxing process looks like. Because when you're buying a lot of pieces in wholesale, stock and inventory management is seriously important. And if you don't do it right, you can get in a big problem. I've got actually a Ralph Lauren bundle here, and you can see I've got, look at that, nice little Ralph Lauren V-neck. How do I know which one's which when I sell it? This is when you might want to consider an SKU stock system. I'll buy a little string tie tag, which I can tie onto the item. And here I'll put something like A1. And then when I go to list this item with this tag stuck on it for A1, I'll put at the last line of the description, A1. A buyer won't really care, but I know when this item sells, I can go over to it and I know it's item A1. This might sound ridiculous if you only have 10 items or so, but when you're dealing with 2, 3, 1,000 items, it's super important you have a good inventory system. So now we're unboxing all of our stock here. Another thing, that we need to do, we need to process this stuff, because right now, if you just go and list a jumper, fresh out a bundle, look, it's not gonna look great. You can see it's got covered in a bunch of small pieces of just like cardboard and plastic, and you should basically do some prep. It's really important to prep your items if you want to get the maximum value from. Prepping doesn't have to be super complicated. Prepping can be as extensive as steaming, washing, ironing, and really taking care of your product, or it can be a simple take off all the bits of dirt and spray it with some fabric freshener. It all depends on how much money you want to get for your item and how long you want to invest. Obviously, the better you make the item look, the more money you're going to get for the item. So it is a worthwhile investment. Just taking out the bundle and trying to sell it like that, it's not going to sell well. Put some time into it, iron it, steam it, make it look good. You can see because these are shipped from halfway across the world, they're going to be creased. What else can you do to make more money and sell faster? Like I said, good photos, natural daylight, and take a lot of photos too. Apps like Vinted, you really should be adding as many photos as you can. You want to be taking photos of the tag, of the neckline, and I'll actually throw some example photos up on the screen just so you know what they should look like. It doesn't need to be a crazy setup. It doesn't need to be ridiculous. Just some natural daylight, even some sunlight and a bit of thought, and you can take really good pics. Having good reviews really helps. One thing I always do to get good reviews is try and ship my item the same day. So how do you scale? Scaling a vintage store is one of the most difficult things. I've got a bundle of like 10 items here, and it ranges from everything from really nice heavyweight jumpers from Ralph Lauren to quarter zips. And I actually really think bundles like this are good if you're starting, because you get a little bit of variety. And the main thing is finding a golden product. A golden product is something which just sells fast for you. For me, I'll actually tell you all of my golden products. Most people keep it secret. Ralph Lauren quarter zips are an absolute goldmine for me because one of these brand new from the Ralph Lauren store is £180. I know that because I have one, and I thought that was just so much money. And that's when I got into vintage reselling and realized you can buy these bad boys for about £18 a piece, and you can sell these for £50 all day long. These things sell all year round, and then it's a reinvestment game. It's not sexy, it's not pretty, I know, but basically you buy 10 pieces, you sell them. You buy 50 pieces, you sell them. You buy 100, you sell them. There's no real hyper fast way to do it. So yeah, reinvestment is kind of the name of the game, but here's a few things you should be considering. Shipping times, because shipping times on Fleek can take a long time. As I mentioned earlier, it's a global marketplace, so we are ordering from sometimes all the way on the other side of the world. So let me explain how this kind of works. So I'm based in the UK, so local suppliers on the Fleek app from the UK will often charge a little bit more of a premium because they've had to ship in orders and they've kind of dealt with all of the admin. So if I order from a supplier within the UK, it will typically take between 7 to 10 business days, whereas if I order from a supplier overseas, it will generally take 21 to 28 business days. Now, obviously, that is a long time. So when we're scaling our store, we need to always be thinking and ordering a month in advance. You need to be thinking about your cash flow throughout all of this, because that is not a small task. You always need to be planning, okay, will I get my stock a month ahead? You do need to be tracking whenever you get a little bit low on stock and submit a reorder a month before. Now, one thing you will notice is buying from the UK will be more expensive, or buying from a local supplier will be more expensive than buying overseas. And this is simply just because of the shipping times. If you don't mind waiting a little bit longer, having your cash tied up for a little bit longer, and you buy from India and Pakistan, it will always be cheaper than buying from a local UK supplier. The way I break this down is if I only need a small little bit of stock and a small restock, I buy from a local supplier in the UK because I can get it in 7 to 10 business days. But if I'm doing a really big order and I want to stock up kind of for the season, I'll always order from India and Pakistan. It's only 21 to 28 days. It's actually not that bad. And if you're ordering a lot of stuff, especially over £1,000 worth, you want to be doing it overseas. The money you save is wonderful. Your margins will thank you. Seriously, good profit to be made there. The other great thing, because I'm based in the UK, is hand picking. Now, I can hand pick from all over the world with Fleek. On the Fleek app, you can do a schedule a hand pick call, where basically you hop on a call with a supplier. They're always super friendly, so you don't have to worry about anything. And basically, they'll put their camera on and go around their warehouse, and you can pick exactly what stock you want. You don't need to stress about getting any bad items because you're picking exactly what you want. Generally, if you're hand picking, it can be a little bit more expensive per piece, but you get the peace of mind, so you don't need to worry about anything. Another really great thing we provide at Fleek is our exact and representative bundles. Let me explain these. So generally in the industry, if you're just buying from a random person and they say they have Realtree hats or Ralph Lauren jumpers, they'll show you a video and it'll be a representative bundle. Basically, this means, hey, this is kind of what you're going to get in the bundle, but it's not exactly what you're going to get. And at Fleek, we thought that, that's cool. And that, that is the industry standard, but we can do one better than that. So we provide something called exact bundles. These are where the sellers on our app will take a video of the bundle you see, and that is what you get. So whatever you'll see in exact bundles, I'll show you on screen what it actually looks like. And this is exactly what you'll get in your order. So if it's your first time ordering and you want absolutely guarantee of what you're going to get, maybe if you're a little bit nervous, you want to do loads of research, please order an exact bundle. What you see in the video is what will turn up at your doorstep. This way, there's absolutely no risk in what you're ordering. Now, representative bundles, as I said, these are the industry standard. It's still super safe. In fact, when you're ordering big quantities, you kind of have to do it this way, or at least this is the way I always do it. And representative bundles will also generally be cheaper. So if you really are margin conscious, representative bundles are better. And you should always, and I mean always, check the supplier reviews before ordering. Again, I'll have a little screen recording on how you do that in the Fleek app, and this will show you what people have said, what people ordered, and this can give you a good idea of if the supplier is safe or bad. This is one of the things I love about Fleek because this will stop so many people getting scammed, finessed. Another great thing you should be aware of when you're buying on Fleek is the make an offer tool. A lot of people don't know this, but you can actually message your supplier and submit offers because these suppliers are always trying to get a deal. These guys want to sell you their stuff. So if you're a little bit like me, I'm never paying full price. I'm always sending an offer, always getting a bargain. It's just a great way to actually build a relationship with your supplier, because if you've ordered from them before, you can go like, hey, I've bought from you before, maybe, submit a cheeky offer, see if they accept, because even if you're getting it for 10, 20 pounds less, that's more money for you. I've robbed some sellers before. I've got some brilliant offers accepted that honestly, I never thought they were. Lowball king. And from there, scaling's pretty simple. Once you buy enough on the Fleek app, a lot of the time you'll actually get hit up by a Fleek account manager. This is a really cool thing that I love. And Hamza's my guy, love him. And basically they'll message you and be like, hey, how's it going? Let me check. Do you want more stock? And you can kind of say like, hey, I'm really looking for quarter zips, for example. Find me a really cheap quarter zip price, cheaper than the current guy. They'll go out, hunt for that for you and report back to you. So I think you have to spend like £2,000, maybe £5,000 on the platform, but then you get access to that. So when it comes to buying and selling vintage clothes, that is everything you need to know. If you do have any questions, make sure to drop them in the comments. I'll be sure to answer them, and I'll see you guys in the next video.